This was the size workshop that I used to have. If you saw my Everything's Changing video, you'll know that since we moved house, I've now got a single car garage that's about 3 metres by 5 metres, and I'm going to convert it into a brilliant workshop, which hopefully will give you some ideas. It isn't all going to be photos and pictures with a voiceover, but there was a lot of work involved, and so there's going to be a mixture between that and proper video. If you've seen my flooring video, you'll know that that was the first major job I did in the garage. But once we moved all the stuff from the old workshop into this one, you can see that it was a bit of a fully packed nightmare. Thankfully though, Evolution sent me one of their gazebos, which I managed to stick on the side of the garage, and that gave me a hell of a lot more space that would allow me to put everything from inside the workshop into that bad boy. It's a 3 metre squared kind of affair, and it's an absolute beast. It's super easy to put up and super stable as well. This isn't an advert for it, but I don't know what I would have done without it. Certainly worth looking for if you're looking for an outside workshop, or maybe even a stall, I guess. The first job, and what this video is all about, is the insulation, and in order to do that I needed to order some wood. I used Tinkercad because I'm too dumb to use the software that a lot of YouTubers use, but this is super easy, and this helped me plan exactly what I was going to need to buy in order to not have too much waste, etc. And this is what turned up from Wix at a surprising cost, I think, but they're all weather treated battens there. I think they're all 2x2. On Facebook Marketplace, I did manage to find this fencing, which you'll see I used to a great extent later on. And yeah, it's surprising what you can find when you're looking around on Marketplace. I didn't record any footage of making this frame, but it's super easy. Basically, I just made a square, everything's butt jointed and screwed, no glue or anything, and then I put the 2 centre sections in and screwed those in as well. They're about 600mm apart centres wise, and around the outside the black stuff is some damp proof membrane, and then on the back of the unit I put the netting that I showed you a moment ago. I used Channel Supporters Forge Fast for the screws. I actually bought these ones, they didn't send them out, and obviously the JCB tools, and everything worked spectacularly. This is what things look like when they're up against the wall. Now, the noggins or the cross pieces in there are just in temporarily, just so I can get some measurements. But yeah, this is what it was looking like. The orange mesh is actually 50mm away from the wall, and that's going to help with soundproofing. This Titan SDS Plus drill is one of the cheapest ones that I've found, and it's done a spectacular job on things like this, but also when it comes to the renovation of the bungalow. Because it's pre-60s, everything's concrete and a nightmare, so this has been cheap and awesome. Again, for this job I bought some Forge Fast, this time masonry screws, again with the Torx head on them, and I just drove those directly into the hole I just created, and that held things really firm. It was really good actually. And then I did a similar job on the sides there to attach things to the wall. Those central columns that I had in the garage were a bit of a nightmare, but it was also pretty handy to attach the individual frames to. For the tops, things were a little bit easier. I didn't have to pre-drill because I was going directly into the wooden joists. I realised here that might not be the best camera angle, so I picked the camera up and move it. And I don't think I really achieved a great deal, but here's me putting a screw into a couple of bits of wood, so enjoy that. I wanted the 100mm rock wall, but I could only afford the 50, so I've got that, but just for this wall that I'm working on and the back wall, because the wall that I'm working on at the moment is partly a party wall. Rather than measuring, I used the real world approach of putting the noggins in once I'd got a slab in there, just so I could see exactly how much space I had and I could make sure that they were a snug fit. I put the noggins in by putting a screw right through one of the ends, and then I put another one in at an angle. Is it called towing a screw in, or toe? I don't know, can't remember. But yeah, so that's how that happened, and it just meant that the noggins were nice sizing for what I needed. I keep talking about me doing all of this stuff, but I couldn't have done it without my wife's help. She did half the job with me, and that was amazing. Anyway, here's me putting in some insulation in one of the little holes that we've just created. You can see that the orange stuff at the back there, the netting, is stopping the insulation going all the way through, which is what we need. That makes an air gap, which helps with sound absorption, particularly on that party wall. And here is some shaky footage of, well, the insulation in. So that's what happened right there. Look at that, look. That looked tidy. Quite proud of that, even though Vicky did most of the work. Right here is what might get some people raging. This is some plastic sheeting that we got off Amazon, which then went over the top of all of that as a moisture barrier. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that say it should be different, that it should be breathable, etc. This is what I could afford, so this is what I did. Then it was the time to start cutting the 11mm OSB that's going to cover everything up. And so the track saw out, borrowed a couple of sawhorses, measured up, and away we go. And this is how things were looking. I think this was at the end of day one, and so a lot had been accomplished in that time, particularly because we didn't really know what we were doing. But yeah, I was quite proud of that. I think this was day two, but I can't remember, to be honest with you. Anyway, here I am cutting up some insulation just because I didn't show it to you before. Bosh, there you go. Now then, the reason I'm cutting this up is because we did then quickly do the back wall in exactly the same way that we had done the side walls. So nothing really to show you there, same process used. If any of you wanted to see a picture of a close-up of my wife's finger for any weird reason, here it is, right here. Oh no, you can't see it? Here's a slightly better picture of it for you. I'm not going to complain about my wife's camera work though. She's ace and scares me a little bit. I then decided that as nothing of any sort of size significance was going to be coming in or out of the workshop that couldn't fit through a normal size door, I was going to cover up the garage door in exactly the same way we've done everything else. That way it looks the same from the outside, but is insulated and soundproofed on the inside. Right, so if my plans have been remotely successful, then you would have had a voiceover to this bit, and there might be a little bit more, I'm not entirely sure. But so far, the workshop garage has been insulated, plastic membraned, and sorted to this point, which is the ceiling. The garage door has been blocked. This big wall, which is like a half party wall, has been done, and the wall behind me has been done. So that means I've got this right hand side to do, but I'm not super fussed about doing that right now because mostly I've run out of money and material. So that is going to kind of be a job that will happen in time. Right, well, I don't know if I've been on 24 frames per second, but anyway, that is the door. This is inside the Evolution tent that I'm in at the moment. You can see that I've got some crap out here, which I'll show you in a minute, but I've still got to build a new door for that, so that'll be one of the very early projects. But coming into the area, and there's the dog. Here we go. This is the kind of the work through. So I got these two workbenches on Marketplace for not very much money. And having those together means that I've got a very large kind of assembly table, which I kind of like the idea of, I think. All of this is absolutely going to change. Now, I've got my table saw there on wheels, and it's way too high at the minute, but yeah, that's the saw point. I don't like the idea of having to wheel out the table saw every time I need it. But there we've got my old workbench, we've got the pillar drill going up in the corner there. I've got my big dust collection there, which again, I'm not entirely sure if I need, but seeing as I've got my thicknesser, that does need 100mm. So that's, don't know. There we've got the tail saw that I was building. That is my router, which I've shown you before because I made a video about it. That is something that I built in my previous workshop to house those drawers, so I think that's going to be super useful. I did want some kind of workbench underneath this window because I thought that might be nice, but the reality is I don't think that's going to work. I've had the other workbench here and it's too big and all sorts of things. MFT there. That wall, by the way, all of this wall is going to be insulated and boarded out like the rest of it. But I just can't afford to do that right at this moment in time, I don't think. If I've got enough scrap, then I might do. But over on the back there, I've got some full sheets of ply because I need to finish making the kitchen. And on there, that's all my reclaimed 18mm MDF. So I'm thinking that might go onto the wall over here if I can batten it out. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. And then obviously we've got the two kind of tables as a work area again right there. I don't know how much this is going to stay the same though. I showed you what I was going to show you, that I haven't got everything in yet. This is what's stressing me out. Right, so if we go outside, we've got the tent, which, as we know, is full of stuff. Vacuums and boxes of stuff and all sorts of things. We've got more tools and malarkey going on there as well. And then we've got outside, which is going to be really blown out, so I've got to change that. So out here we've got all sorts of stuff. I've got some lighting going on there. I've got tracks. I've got polystyrene that I was using my track saw on. I've got all of this kind of malarkey, and there's more wood. All sorts of stuff. So I've got to try and find a home for all of that. And so chums, that is where I'm going to finally finish this video. Hopefully it's come out okay. I'm very worried that I've recorded different frame rates and all sorts of things, but I've still got a hell of a lot to do, and there's going to be stuff like building stuff for the walls. Obviously I don't have the space here to have, I mean, I can touch the ceiling. Is that my tummy? Oh, tummy. I can, you know, I can touch the ceiling, so I can't really have stuff hanging off the ceiling. This wall I can't really put things on because I've got to build it out. That wall I can, but I've got situations to deal with. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to cope with this yet. So this is massively a work in progress, as with any workshop. But I've got a lot to get in, and not a lot of knowledge on how I'm going to do it. So I think that's going to leave it for today. It's not a completed workshop, but it's, you know, it's certainly getting there. What I will say is things like this flooring, which hopefully the previous video would have talked about, has made life so much easier because I've just been able to drag stuff around. It's easy to clean. I've got paint spots on it and stuff, but I can soon clean them off. But yeah, everything's work in progress, and I hope you come back to see the rest of it, where I'm actually hopefully going to build stuff. But yeah, I'm just going to have to do what I can to sort of shuffle things around for the time being. I might throw up a few things on the walls or whatever, but yeah, we'll see how that goes later. I won't do any major builds without recording it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye.